Yep. Yeah. Well, we have to wear the hoodie because the dude in the video was wearing a hoodie, right? So I thought I'd, you know, celebrate him.
Okay, let me get my hoodie. Okay. This is it. I'm putting on my hoodie to show camaraderie with the dude.
So, I thought it was interesting that on the internet, everybody was jumping all over the fact that there was a guy who, in preparation to rob, was it a Dunkin' Donuts? Was it a
Yeah, I was at Dunkin' Donuts.
Dunkin'
Yep.
Donuts? Okay, so product placement here. Uh, he was going through some rudimentary stretch routine, and everybody's like, "Wow, ha ha ha! Look at this! He's getting." And like you said, you're going to do some sort of armed robbery. There could be some action there. So why wouldn't you warm up for this, right? And we'll show some of the video here, but you watch him go through, and I'm sure some people are saying, "Oh, he's doing stretching before he's going to do this. Not good. It's going to affect his performance during the robbery." What do you think?
Well, if we were sort of taking the how do you say, the purist approach, yeah, but I think the way I see it, at least, like I said earlier on, at least they had the foresight to think themselves that, hey, I'm going to do something potentially explosive, something that may lead to me blowing out my hamstring muscles and may lead to me getting captured. So why don't I just basically edge my bet and do some pre-robbing Dunkin' Donuts stretch in order to make sure that I could be best prepared for the great getaway.
But there are the naysayers that say that the stretching before that could impair him. What do you say to that?
You know what? Let's put it this way. I think to each his own. I just think that maybe mentally he was preparing himself as well. So he probably felt that, preparation, and then I've done some stretching, that maybe this is actually helping him mentally get ready for
Ah,
what he's about to do.
I like that.
So I'd say it's almost like a premeditative, let me rob Dunkin' Donuts stretch.
So it's first degree armed robbery.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you watch carefully in the video, at least he does a bit of ballistic
This is
stretching,
true.
where a lot of people would say, hey, this is actually counterproductive. I'd really like to know if this guy was an athlete himself. He
Well,
looks
I
like
was
he's in
watching.
great shape.
Yeah, I was watching the way he's moving, and I'm thinking as I'm watching the video, he bounces, he does a little hamstring, he does a little groin. I'm like, this guy played baseball. It's got to be baseball because, he did a bit of it, but not enough to be. It wasn't like gymnastics. It wasn't track and field. Probably not football. Maybe soccer. But I'm like, either this guy's baseball or ultimate frisbee. Like those are the
Well,
two
you know
things.
what, Derek? You should bring up an interesting point, because if he is baseball, maybe this is what people in baseball should do to prevent
The
the
hamstring pulls.
plethora of hamstring injuries that they're experiencing now early on in the season.
Yeah, well, the other thing that was interesting, and you talked about preparation and mental preparation, like maybe this guy was going for some sort of parasympathetic response, like stretch, limber, I gotta be cool. And you watch the video, and he's very smooth. Like you said, there's a lot of thought went into this. He's very smooth. You can see him switch I guess, the guns in the bag. He switches it from one hand to the other very smoothly, opens the door, jumps over the counter. Like it's all been rehearsed. And I think him jumping over the counter actually was probably more intimidating than the fact that he had a gun, because like the person behind the counter just backs off, right? And you're like, oh, this guy.
Yeah, exactly. And
He,
you know what? At least he did the proper stretches to be able to jump over the counter. Stretched his groin muscles, he stretched his lower back, he actually did a little IT band stretch there. And if you look carefully in the beginning, like, I mean, the guy looks like he's got some really good form, especially when he puts his hands on his hip. Like, it kind of makes me think maybe he was a ballet dancer at one time or something.
yeah, but it's definitely interesting how to gauge people's reactions. Like most of it was like, this is hilarious, when for you and I, we're like, this makes perfect sense. You
Oh, I
know,
agree, Derek. It makes a lot of perfect sense that he actually went in there with a game plan and he knew that he had to get himself ready. So he was pumping himself up, let's just say, and trying to remain supple at the same time, the
yeah.
yin and yang.
Because when he left that place, it wasn't like he was sprinting out of there. Like he just kind of sauntered out. He had a nice little jog. Like he had just taken the fourth ball and he's just sauntering to first base. So I do think if the police are watching this, check out the local baseball teams. Um, but um, but yeah, no. The whole point is the guy had a plan. He had a routine. You know, it seemed to work out. I don't know if they're going to catch this dude, but if you okay, here's a question for you to finish on. If they put him up on a lineup and they said, "Okay, Nikos, you're the stretch expert. This guy has a certain bio signature. Do a groin stretch. If you saw that groin stretch again, could you pull him out of a lineup?"
Oh, that is a really good question, Derek. The way he's showed himself in the footage there, yeah, I could see the rotations in his feet. I should be able to pick him out.
Okay, okay, that's
Because I
good.
mean he's got a certain angle if you look carefully when he's going through his stretches that his hips rotate a certain way comparing the right to the left. So like I'm looking at the video right now of myself and
Can you detect any previous trauma or injuries in there?
well
Has he been
that's a
in,
good question.
has he
Let's
been in prison before?
Derek, maybe he learned this in Sing Sing. Who knows, man? But I gotta hand it to him. He's sitting there and I'm looking at his feet and how he's placing his feet down on the ground and interestingly enough, let's have a look at how he's approaching when he's approaching the actual the venue. Let's just see if he's got
Any gait
external
issues? Yeah.
rotations. He seems like his feet are squared up. I do see a little more external rotation on his right side, so he may have had an issue with the right hit. Oh yeah, actually, if you see him approaching the actual door, he does have a little external rotation on his right side, which might warrant the fact that he may have had a previous injury on the right side. But boy, was he able jumping over there over the counter. It was amazing. Yeah, you can still see that external rotation on that
Okay.
right foot.
We'll
Interestingly enough,
we'll
you're
send
gonna
this.
laugh, but a long time ago when Pope John Paul II died, and they had him on his on the stretcher, whatever you want to call it, as people were going by to sort of pay their last respects. If you look carefully, his right leg was externally rotated more than his left, and I'm thinking to myself, the guy had a right lower back problem.
Wow. Wow.
But this guy is interesting, man.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
we got to see it if they're going to catch him or not. And if they do, well, maybe we should call him the Dunkin' Donut Stretcher.
yeah, yeah. Dunkin' Donuts Yogi. I like that one.
I like that one better, the Yogi. And maybe he should start a whole new form of yoga.
Yeah. But definitely, we will alert the Philadelphia PD and tell them about what you've seen. And if they see somebody with excessive external rotation on the right side, that's your guy.
That's your guy.
Yeah.
Let's do it. All
Okay.
right, Derek.
Thanks, man.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.